Oh, that's good.
Okay. So we're live. Okay. So hello everyone. This is myself and Jack's first foray into videos. We just thought we would. We're just going to talk about general things in the coming weeks, but this particular episode is focused on Wrestlemania and NXT Takeover, which we were lucky to watch in a pretty sport-filled weekend that we had.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go and visit my good friend Daniel, and have a little man date over the weekend. And,
it was glorious.
we watched a lot of sport and a lot of wrestling.
So, the simplest thing we can do is we can just go through match by match. We'll start with WrestleMania. Oh, hold on. I'll turn off my tally. That's
What are you watching?
I was watching the
Real
Champions
Housewives of
League.
Cheshire.
Yeah. I was watching the Champions League. It was I was watching Juventus Real Madrid. And it was unbelievable.
Was that live?
It was, yeah. Juventus went. Real Madrid won 3-0 last week.
Away. Ronaldo scored his amazing overhead kick.
Yeah. And then Juventus just scored 3 goals, away goals, so they were equal. And then I think in the 98th minute or something, there was 3 minutes extra time, and in like 97.3 like seconds or whatever, they got a
3-2-5-4.
they literally got a penalty, Real Madrid, and then Buffon got sent off because he just literally just lost his shit at the ref. He was screaming in the ref's face, and then
lost or lobbed.
Lost.
They didn't lob his shit at the ref.
No, he didn't lob it. He's not a primate. Oh my god. We should never video things. We're so unfunny. Okay, so let's start.
So hang on, what's the score then?
So the final score was 4-3 to Real Madrid on aggregate.
Right. So that was cool.
Yes.
So okay. WrestleMania.
Yes. Finally got to WrestleMania. So the first match was Matt Hardy. No, it wasn't Matt Hardy.
Spoilers. The first match was the 30-man battle royal for the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy.
Yes. What were your thoughts?
Also known as the Shittle Royal.
Yeah. The match with the first 5 minutes is horrendous.
45, apparently.
Are you looking at Wikipedia too?
No, just off the top of my head. Just off the...
God. It went 15:45.
Did you not realise that when we were watching, I just had a little sneaky time stopwatch? That's 15 minutes, 45.
I can't even be angry at that kind of behaviour because that's kind of the stupid shit I'd do.
You're just thinking, oh God, we should have done that.
I know. I was like, oh. I like that with planes. You're like, oh, how long was that aircraft display? That's a minute shy.
How long was that blaze?
What? What? Okay, so yeah, as you correctly state, according to Wikipedia, it was 15 minutes and 45 seconds. As with most battle royals, it has that fucking 10 minutes at the start of the match where it's just utter garbage of it's just a flurry of bodies. But what did you think of the match overall?
I thought it was pretty poor because at least in the Royal Rumble, you know, as participants come in, they have a little bit of a set piece and, you know, they can do a few moves. But in a battle royal, there aren't really any moves. It's just punching and kicking and then pushing people over the top. And lots of gratuitous Dolph Ziggler hanging off the ropes, pretending like he's going to get knocked out. So...
Yeah, it was quite weird with that. He was just consistently just doing that all the time, like just obviously like looking for camera shots, obviously in different sides of the ring, but it was like because he kept doing it, and the cameras kept picking it up. It just felt like overkill for me. It was like, we get it, like, and then and it was pretty much exactly the same place every time. It was like 2 feet from the corner. It was never like right in the middle. It was always just slightly offset. It was quite strange. He obviously was paranoid that he wasn't going to get the camera time, but
I think I feel like he's done that in Royal Rumbles for however many years as well. I think he's just trying to emulate Shawn Michaels, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, I really enjoy. Well, I say really. I found with this match that I was more concerned about how it was going to end than bothered about the actual match. And so when it kind of got down to the final 4, I just thought, oh my God, I only want one person to win this, and it's only. I mean, I definitely didn't want Baron Corbin to win again.
No, because I think the final 3 were Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, and Matt Hardy, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so it was one of them where I just didn't really. I didn't want to see anyone else win other than Matt Hardy, and even then it was such a fake achievement
as well, because the other 2 had already won it before, so you couldn't really see them winning. It was good to at least see Bray Wyatt come out at the end, but then after going into the whatever it's called, the Lake of Disappointment or whatever it is. the pond of deletion, or I kind of was thinking that if he was going to like turn up in this match, then he'd turn up and he'd like come back with a slightly different look or something, or he'd look a bit like Matt Hardy, like he'd be the broken version of Bray Wyatt, but he was just wearing an apron.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually really liked that they did something that was actually had a bit of drama to it, and a bit of theatre. Like I enjoyed that, but yeah, you're right. Every time someone's either joined them, they've kind of especially with the broken thing, it's tweaked and even if it was just like maybe one like a white flash in his hair or something, like similar to kind of Matt Hardy. But yeah, there was just there was just nothing different about his appearance, and so it did feel a bit like an afterthought because they had time to do it, because Bray's been gone, hasn't he, since the Ultimate Deletion?
Yeah, so is that like a couple of weeks? Or?
So I mean, they've had time to do something with him, but then they posed together at the end. What?
He's had time to dye his hair.
Yeah.
Get a new shirt.
And start talking with like an English South African, like whatever the fuck. But I mean, it's funny, really. In hindsight, obviously after the show, I mean, I suppose this is kind of a nil point, really. But if based on the results of them picking kind of what you wouldn't expect with a lot of the results, it probably would have led. It probably would have been made more sense that like Baron Corbin would have won, or or Mojo Rawley, just because it's like when you get to them 3, you hope that you want someone who hasn't won it before to win.
Yeah.
But
all in all, I mean, I thought it was interesting that nobody got an entrance as well. It kind of just cut straight to them, and they were all in the ring, which is a bit weird.
It's just a disaster, that start of that match. I just don't know. I mean, obviously it's on the pre-show, but that first 10 minutes is just it's utter garbage. Like it's an absolute clusterfuck. Like you can see everyone just like looking at each other, just pairing off with someone, and then just like you say, it's just punching and kicking. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
all smushed together like they're on the tube.
I thought on the tube. I thought Goldust had a decent little bit of interaction, and I think he kind of tried to get the crowd invested in it. You know, he interacted with them and kind of had a bit of personality, and then it was and then he was quickly just eliminated. Like, was it Mojo Rawley eliminated Goldust? I can't really remember.
I can't remember.
But it was just such a You've just got rid of someone who's actually trying to make the match entertaining. Well done. And then it wasn't really entertaining until obviously like the final minute.
Yeah.
But
well, at least this year there weren't any projections of beetles on the floor or worms or anything like last year. It was quite obvious, like Matt Hardy was going to win because he was the only one who was really like promoted going in. They were talking about, oh, this could be the making of Matt Hardy or something, even though he's had like a massive long career.
Because to be fair, like I feel really weird about Matt Hardy at the moment because like I did feel like he's come in with such promise, and again he was so over. He was massive. Like he outgrew TNA just because he'd created this incredible character where it just completely challenged all like wrestling stereotypes, and he'd kind of gone. You know, he left there, and then he was kind of doing the independent thing for for a very short time with Jeff, and then there was that weird. Obviously, it was that weird bit where when they came back to Mania last year, where it was like the biggest pop I've ever heard. Like it was unbelievable. And then there was that legal shit where it was like it can't really do the broken gimmick.
Yeah, and then it feels like a year too late, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it's watered it down a bit now. And now I feel like he's a joke character with the whole Bray Wyatt thing.
Yeah, because Bray Wyatt's been really stale for the last 4 or 5 years, hasn't he?
I do feel sorry for Bray Wyatt.
4 or 5 years.
Because at least he gives 110% for his kind of gimmick. Like, it's a good character. Well, it was a good character. Now it's just become a bit of a joke now. There was kind of some like threat about him and kind of this mystery. Do you know what I mean? Like it kind of reminded me how The Undertaker is, where there's that kind of deep south kind of voodoo-y kind of like out in the woods. You don't know what the fuck's going on, like the superstition kind of stuff. I think that was actually quite a good character, and I think he plays it well. But
he's not really evolved in any of his promos or any of his vignettes. He always just appears on the Titantron and talks nonsense. I think he just needs to evolve a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So that with that
next match,
we'll knock that match on the head. So we sound so fucking enthusiastic about it, but no, but it was middle of the road. It was all right. You know what I mean? It wasn't offensively bad. It was just
it was all right.
It was all right. Okay, so the second match is the tournament final for the vacant Cruiserweight Championship. And
the time, 12 minutes 20.
There we go. There he is, timekeeper.
So a little bit less than the Battle Royal, but there was considerably less opponents.
There was a lot more movement in this one.
Yeah. Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a little bit shoehorned in how they kept saying, "Oh, I'm the heart, I'm the soul." Yeah. That seemed a little bit forced, but I liked that they were at least trying to tell a bit of a story in it and put some emotion in it. I mean, it was on the kickoff, so it was a bit much just for a kickoff show. But yeah, I thought it was an all right match.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna sound like a probably really boring answer, but I completely echo what you've just said. I think they kind of forced the issue. I do appreciate though that they were trying something, trying to give it something
Mm.
else rather than just, oh, this is just two cruiserweights having a
Yeah.
fight. Why should I give a shit?
Because then did they like hug at the end and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of. I suppose the problem is if you come in cold, which I am, because I am clearly a fair
Mm.
weather wrestling fan. Like,
Yeah,
for
no,
me,
I don't watch 205 Live either.
like, yeah.
I don't think anyone watches 205 Live.
No, no. I read the other day that it's getting canned. I don't know whether that's true or.
Well, Triple H is supposed to be taking over from it now for the last few weeks, hasn't he?
Oh, is he?
Since the whole tournament
Ah.
started, I think that was him being in charge of it.
Oh, so that he
Still
took
not
over.
watched it. Yeah.
He took over the tournament for this to culminate at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Ah,
I
okay.
think he's like got NXT and 205 Live now.
Well, fucking hell. I mean, for obviously for his work done on NXT, then maybe I might start watching it. It's
Yeah.
I think it was okay. This match, it is very difficult to come in and give a shit for someone you're not really that bothered about, which could be an excuse. But then looking at how a successful NXT takeover was, where I had no real investment with any of those characters, and yet I think it was one of the best wrestling shows I'd seen.
Yeah.
Like since the last NXT takeover. I thought it was okay. I commend them for actually trying, and I think they didn't just turn up and it wasn't overly choreographed either, which I quite liked. Sometimes I find that high flying stuff can be a bit like, okay, here's some of the high spots we've got to do.
Yeah, just spots rather than a real story.
Yeah, so I liked that there was quite a lot of striking and things like that. It didn't feel like they pulled any punches when it came to like kicks and stuff like that. It felt kind of pretty authentic. So. It was a pre-show match, so you're kind of like, okay, this is all right. This is not offensive.
Yeah,
it's kind of how I viewed that one.
Yeah. So Cedric Alexander won that one.
Oh yeah, sorry, yes, yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting considering that Mustafa Ali clearly had the budget on the entrance.
Yeah, coming in like some kind of Power Ranger.
Like a Daft Punk Iron Man.
Like a Daft Punk Iron
Man. And then we moved on to the 20-man, fucking hell. 20-woman Battle Royal for the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal Trophy. So what was the time on that?
9 minutes 50. A little bit less on that one, but there were only 20 women. So you can understand, really, can't you? And we did see some entrances in this one. So Becky Lynch got an entrance before everyone else came in. And then Sasha Banks and Bayley got an entrance.
And then everyone else just had to walk down to generic music.
Yeah.
In like a gaggle of people, which was quite strange. So I thought this match was really bad. The first set piece was really weird. Like it was like almost like bullying. It was quite strange. Where they were just like singling people out and then just kicking the shit out of them and then kicking them out.
They were all in a circle, weren't they?
Yeah.
Just like kicking the shit out of one person at a time. It
kind of came across really like bitchy.
Yeah.
And weird, and like I think we said it when we were watching it, or I might have said it because I'm obviously a horrendous sexist, but it kind of reminded me of old diva matches.
Yeah.
Rather than like now, where it's more focused on the athletic ability. This was more like, look at all these personalities and what's she doing in here? Kind of like, I don't know. I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong with that, but that was kind of just my perception with it. It was just really like I'd not really seen that kind of like match with the women, the female wrestlers, for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously we get to the end and then Bayley kind of does the heel turn ish, well, it's not heel turn, but kind of.
Yeah, she eliminates Sasha Banks, doesn't she?
Yeah, which probably would have just been a good ending. I felt a bit like when
yeah, she got a bit of a pop from that, didn't she?
Yeah, and the Naomi thing to me just felt a bit like, oh,
a bit forced.
like
Because the thing
she went
was,
through the middle of the ropes. Like
there wasn't even any tease that Naomi hadn't been officially eliminated. It was kind of like, oh, so she just popped up from nowhere.
Yeah,
because Bailey eliminates Sasha, and everyone thinks that the match is over and Bailey's won. And then the camera turns around and Naomi's come back in the ring because apparently at some point she got eliminated, but must have just had a little kip on the outside.
had a little kip. No, I kind of just felt like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of went against. It just lost all the kind of.
And it was kind of a bit like, because then there was the shots of Bailey and Sasha on the outside, both like looking disappointed with themselves. It was kind of like the story was, you're both as shit as each other, sort of thing. It's like, you're both fucked up.
Yeah, it was really awkward. And they kind of did that thing which we hate, where it's that lingering camera shot as well, which didn't help. Where you just looking at people, just it's like, okay, emote, no, carry on emoting. That's it. Show emotion. How do you feel about this situation? And you're like, oh my god, just
point at the sign.
Away.
If in doubt, just point at the WrestleMania sign. They don't do that when it's actually WrestleMania, do they?
No,
they should do that. Guess where I am.
It would have been funny if all the girls in the battle royal just literally just stopped before the match and just all pointed in unison in the side. Oh, okie doke. So then the match, then WrestleMania got started.
Yeah, it started with quite a good opening match. Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
How many minutes was that?
It was 15 minutes 30.
It was, yeah. I mean, this could be complete lies, but it felt about 15 minutes 30. That's what I would have said.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it in my heart. So this
was good.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think it proves again again, we said it at the time, how good Seth Rollins' music and intro is, like, in an arena setting. It really is like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the energy of it. It just is great. It's just, I think it's just one of those themes that just works really well. Because he came out and it was incredible. And then, Miz came out, and I was watching a video, like the highlights, and he said, and then Miz turned up and looked like a mole, someone said, with those glasses, which I thought was a funny comment. So that was a bit weird. So I actually read somewhere that they said it was a bit weird that he sends his entourage, his security, to the back as well, considering you'd think he would probably want them there for this match.
Because he's kind of doing a few like babyface things at the moment, like saying, "Oh, my wife," and talking about his wife and his new baby and whatever. It's kind of like you want him to just be a pure heel, like a bit of a bastard, don't you?
Because that's what he's good at.
Yeah,
he's such a good talker on the mic, and he has got the kind of the charisma to palm it off. I mean, I've seen him when he just cuts promos, when there was one, he was in Sirius XM and Sam Roberts was just interviewing like Eric Bischoff or someone like that, and then he came in, he burst into the studio after he'd finished and was like, "Have you not got enough time for me?" And it was kind of, in character.
Yeah.
And then he came on, and then he basically was just going on and on in the character. Like, are you too good for me now? Like, why wouldn't you have me? And you're an idiot. And he was just, but it was really good. He was completely in character, and he's just doing that obnoxious Miz character that he has. And that was just, he wasn't supposed to even turn up at that interview, but like you can tell that that's how good he is and how he wants to push like the Miz character and kind of how horrible he is. And I don't know. I was really impressed with how he kind of conducted himself in that interview.
Yeah,
it was interesting, but
no, he is a good character, and all the stuff he's done previously with like Daniel Bryan and with John Cena, and just like bringing up some like behind the scenes stuff, I think is pretty good, bringing a bit of reality to it.
That stuff with Cena in the house, his house rules was one of the funniest parodies I'd seen.
Him and Maurice dressed up as Cena and Nikki Bella.
That is against the house rules of John Cena. So, and then Finn Balor came out virtue signaling, but I'll just that was kind of. I've seen a lot of people moan about the fact that he didn't turn up as the demon, because that's kind of what he does. The key kind of core events, he comes as a demon, and maybe he could have dressed up like a rainbow demon. I mean, I don't know.
Rainbow demon, yeah, that was cool.
I feel a bit like it was cool that he did that message, but I don't know whether that's getting the social thing into that was really the time to do it at WrestleMania. I felt a bit. I mean, I appreciate that it's the stage and like it's kind of where everyone's going to see you, but it felt a bit like, oh, he's not dressed as the demon.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing that we didn't see the demon, but I'm not sure when they're going to use it again now. Then, because if he's not doing it at big live events. If he's not doing it at WrestleMania, then when is he going to do it? And that's kind of like what got him over with like kids as well, sort of thing. Like all the kids were like really interested in the demon character rather than just Finn Balor. I think he's a bit too smiley at the moment as well, isn't he? He just seems to come out and smile. I think he needs a bit more of a hard edge.
Yeah, he's definitely become like a kid's favorite, like Rey Mysterio kind of did. Where obviously in WCW, Rey Mysterio was kind of this like gangster, kind of like he wasn't really a child's favorite. Whereas now, I feel like I mean, again, it's clever because if you're endeared by kids, do you know what I mean? Then it's a good, Cena. Look at Cena, how much he profited from that, but. I don't know. My opinion of this match was just I felt like it just ended really abruptly. Like it didn't feel like it. It just felt like there was no close pinfalls. It was just like, oh, he's won, and it was like, oh, the match is over. But then I suppose looking at 15 minutes, it's an all right length. I mean, it's not a short match, but I mean, when you compare it to the Charlotte match, which again, just purely reading it, that was 13 minutes, and that felt a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose that felt a little bit time short, but no, sorry. But were you happy? What did you think of this match? But sorry, I've jumped ahead.
I thought it was a good match. I did, it was a good opening match. I didn't think it was like a classic or anything. But I think it was good just to kick the pay-per-view off, and it was kind of almost a little bit unexpected that Seth Rollins won in the end. Because I think a lot of people were hoping that Miz was going to retain and become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. I think he was only a couple of weeks off being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion or something. But yeah, I think it was a good match.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he was that close to getting the.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought Finn Balor was going to win. To be fair, that was kind of my pick. Just I thought it was maybe like just as a gratitude for obviously they gave him the Universal, was it, and then he obviously got injured during that match, and then obviously had to like relinquish the title. But then I thought maybe after he's kind of grafted since then, and I thought they might reward him with a championship, but then no, it was Seth. But
yeah,
I feel like these three are just kind of floating in the middle of nowhere. Really, they're not really.
Yeah, I think Seth gained a bit of momentum with Dean Ambrose when the Shield reformed again, but then that just got all messed up when basically everyone started getting injured, and it kind of just became a bit of a non-reunion, didn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't want them to reform the Shield. To be honest, I think not enough time had passed.
Yeah, I think it just came out of nowhere as well. There wasn't a real storyline where they were like, right, we need to reform to defeat these people because no one else will. It was kind of like, oh, we'll just do it for the sake of it. I feel like they just did it in the hope that it would get Roman over in time for WrestleMania. And then that all went to shit.
Oh boy, did it.
But the next match was my match of the night, which I wasn't expecting it to be at all. Charlotte versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yeah, no, yeah. So for me, yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I had not.
You look like John Motson now you've got the microphone up.
Yeah. There's West Brom on the break. I just need to hold it. I need to get a stand, really.
Just need to hold it.
I just need to hold it. I got to hold it. Yeah, this match was awesome.
Yeah. Really good pace to it. Some like really cool spots. There was a spot where they were both on the turnbuckles and they were kind of teetering a little bit, and then they both did like a suplex off the top. It looked like Asuka wasn't going to rotate enough, but then she just got over.
Oh yeah, that was
really
like a weird flip, wasn't it? It was kind of like was it like a DDT type thing, or was it just a superplex? Or it was
something like that.
Yeah, because I remember when it happened, you were like, "Oh my god," because you were like genuinely concerned that she looked like she wasn't gonna rotate quick enough and just land and just spike herself. Yeah, I thought this match was excellent. Like after watching Botchamania a lot, I kind of worry about Charlotte Flair, but she was really good in this match. Like you couldn't criticize anything in terms of what they did.
Yeah, and Asuka's obviously superb, and she like held her own with Asuka completely. I think it was just a really good match.
Yeah, the only interesting thing is that she won clean with the figure. What's it called? The figure, is it the figure eight?
Yeah.
Like, but she did it with one arm, and it just might just be me, but normally with that kind of thing where a wrestler is like injured an arm or injured a part of the body, which affects getting kind of the crank on the whatever the submission is, that to me seems like it wouldn't necessarily have the same stopping power as normal.
Yeah.
So that to me was a bit weird that she tapped her out like with.
I kind of just read it like she was using one arm to get more leverage. Was it? Do you think it was more that she could only use one arm because the other one was injured? Was that more what it was? You think?
Yeah, I think she injured in the match. I think she injures her arm some way. I can't remember actually what it was, but that's why she brought her arm up, was because of an injury, or whether it was part of it or whether it was legit, I don't know. But like that to me would give you less of a stable base. And so it wouldn't make you, it wouldn't, to me, it doesn't make it as effective as what it is. And then to have Asuka tap out of that, I think it made Asuka look a tiny bit weak. That would be the only criticism. It's minor. but the match was really good. I really enjoyed it.
That was a great match, and it was a little bit of a shock that Asuka lost her streak, but I think it was necessary because it's a little bit limiting. Because then you can just think, oh well, she's not going to lose because she's against a certain opponent. So there's less you can do when it's just protecting a streak constantly. So I think that frees her up to have a few more interesting stories.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for her to lose wasn't it's not a disaster at all. And I think the way she lost, and then obviously like the etiquette they had after the match, and I think it was cool with Charlotte looking really emotional. I don't know why she got so emotional. I'd actually be interested to see why. Like, I mean, I think it sold it really well. I mean, whether it was just a part, she was just acting. I don't know, but it did seem like she was really emotional. So I wonder what was kind of the reason for that, or if it was genuine. But it made it really nice. It made it feel like she's really fucking pushed herself to win, which kind of in a way helped the finish, I suppose, because it felt like she really was struggling to kind of do that. But I really enjoyed that match. Okay, so then we had the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship. What was the time on that timekeep?
8 minutes 15. That was how long you had to go to the toilet during this match. I mean, you got a Bobby Roode entrance, which was cool just because his music's and his entrance is so good.
But then it got cut off.
Yeah.
Which was really fucking annoying. Like that's probably one of the best theme songs at the moment, and it just got cut off, and it was like, oh. But then I suppose they were pushed for time because if the match was 8 minutes, I mean, what are they supposed to do in 8 minutes? Really, they couldn't really tell any stories. I mean, this match for me was poor. There was just nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't care who won.
Apart
really,
from the crowd were into Rusev. It was quite over, but Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton did nothing for me.
I just think Rusev. I just feel like he's this Dolph Ziggler character who just isn't going to get a break. It just feels that way. It made so much sense to get him over. I mean, he's kind of single-handedly took the bull by the horns with the social media stuff that he's been doing and kind of creating similar to Zack Ryder, where he was like, okay, if you're not going to push me, I'll fucking do it myself. And it was looking like he was going to get released a couple of months ago, and he's been really proactive, and it just to me would have felt like a good result. Like it would have felt like they're putting a bit of faith in him, and like you say, how over was he with the crowd?
And that's through just himself, because they've not pushed him at all, and if anything, they've tried to hold him back and sort of like dull it down almost, which is weird because if someone's getting that amount of reactions, you'd want to like push them and capitalize on it. But no, it seems weird.
Like imagine if they would have got Jinder Mahal or someone else in that match to like fuck over like Rusev in some way, like maybe hold the ropes when they pinned him. Like it would have been like red hot heat. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and then at least there might have been a story to move on to afterwards, and you would have got sympathy for Rusev and massive heat on the heel. But it was just a bit of a nothing match, wasn't it? And then Jinder Mahal won.
Which I mean, who cares?
Well, he's got a ponytail now. That's about as interesting as it gets with Jinder Mahal.
I'm still convinced he looks like a CGI person. Like his features are so like exaggerated, and his like eyes, I don't know what it is. He just looks CGI to me. Like he looks like his character.
I was saying as well, he's like obviously massively ripped. And he's like really big pecs, but then his nipples just look really droopy, don't they? They just look a bit sad. Like they've not caught up with the rest of him.
Sad Nepal.
Sad Nepal.
Oh. Quick move on before choices.
So then the next
Okay.
match
Yes.
was the mixed tag match, which was Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. So Ronda and Kurt won in 20 minutes 40. And again, this was a really good match. It was a lot better than I think anyone expected it to be, because in the build-up, Ronda had been a bit unsure of herself.
A bit.
Some of her moves just looked a bit forced and like she was overthinking it, like throwing Triple H through the table and
the rest.
The little cratty move that she did with Dana Brooke.
Yeah, it was, and like the hip toss, judo toss type thing.
Yeah, but this match was really good, really fun match. Triple H and Stephanie did their usual elaborate entrance with all the bikes coming down, which looked like they were left over from last year.
Yeah.
I think Steph was wearing the same outfit as last year as well. Trips looked absolutely ripped, didn't he? He looked like he'd like lost a little bit of weight. He just looked like really chiseled, didn't he? Like he'd been training for months.
Yeah, but I said to you, like, there's no fucking way they'd be testing his piss. There's no way. He is fucking roided to the gills.
He was like dancing his pecs as well. It was like, oh god.
Oh, that was a shocking camera angle. That was not flattering at all. They looked like spaniel's ears, but then when they were from the front, they looked like solid, pristine pecs. But then when there was that shot, you could just see them like waving. Oh, it was awful. Yeah, it was. Yeah, this match was like it was funny when it started. I got the fear because Ronda came down and she was kind of all smiley and like, I'm really happy to be here. Kind of, she has that like demeanor of like, I'm really friendly. And then she was smiling and then she literally stepped foot in the ring and it was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot what they told me. You're supposed to be intense. Do you know what I mean? And it just stopped and it was like,
yeah, it needed to be more. It was a little bit too much of a switch from one to the other. She needs to just like ease into it and like get a game face on rather than just switch one from the other.
Because like Stephanie came over and like, didn't she get like a cheap shot or something? I can't really remember. I think that's how it started. I think she slapped her or she did basically a heel move, whatever. And then, you know, to me, that was the time. You can look a bit more like intense when you get in the ring, but it just felt like fake. It was like she was looking like them two had killed her parents or something. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of weird. Sorry, or her parents. But it's interesting that match was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Compared to the others, that's quite long. And it did go on, but it didn't feel long. It felt
No, it didn't feel long, did it?
You've got to.
It was a good length for what it was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do think this was Triple H on top form of telling stories within a match.
Because the storytelling in it was really good as well. Because obviously it started with Stephanie like getting heat, like keep going and like cheap shotting Ronda.
Yeah.
And like she couldn't get in the match. So then when the hot tag came, the crowd was just like really, really up for it when Ronda finally got into the match. And then her intensity was really impressive. Like you can tell she needs a bit of work, like on her moves and the smoothness of it. But she was fucking going around everywhere. She was like really, really intense.
I think what impressed me was when she was at a clothesline she did, and she did that front roll, or she did like there was like a move, and then she did like a front roll, which
Yeah,
didn't need to be there, but it looked, and the way she executed it, it was perfect. And it got a massive pop. I remember the crowd were like, "Whoa!" Because I think they were like, "Oh shit, maybe she isn't as like wooden as what we thought.
yeah,
Like maybe she actually has like the odd little bit of you know, like maybe athleticism, and obviously from years of fighting, kind of she's obviously got great core strength.
yeah.
Maybe there was something there where it was like, oh shit, she's got a bit of something about her.
And then the
Yeah.
strikes in the corner where she was like her hand speed in the corner was really cool as well. That looked really impressive.
Apart from the fucking camera angles, which I just hated because it felt cheesy,
Yeah,
like the quick cuts. And I've seen that when they replay that, that's what they show. They don't show like the single camera angle. It's those quick kind of like three
yeah,
shots,
almost like shaky.
yeah, that felt
I think
really like
the first lot of those quick punches to Steph was more impressive than the ones to Triple H because he kind of oversold it a little bit, didn't he? It made it a bit hammy.
yeah. That's the only thing that I would have liked to have seen is maybe Triple H actually being a bit more of a bastard and actually like getting some strikes off on her
Yeah,
because it would have probably
I mean, he did. There was that bit where he pulled her out of the ring. That looked pretty brutal because he just like yanked
oh
her
yeah.
and she just splattered on the ground, didn't she?
That's true. Yeah, yeah. She didn't. There's no real way to sell that, is there, or
Mm.
to bump that. I think it's just you just fucking fall on and pancake the floor. Um,
But I really liked it because she had a bit of attitude as well. She was like talking on the apron, and then when she was beating the shit out of Steph, and then she was like pulling the hair out of her fingers, and she was
yeah, that was a cool
had a bit
touch.
of
Yeah,
attitude and stuff, didn't she? And the only thing was like Stephanie looked a little bit stronger than maybe she should have done because she kept like um, blocking the armbar quite a bit, didn't she? I mean, they told the whole story about Ronda like trying to get the armbar on and kind of built it around that. But I think Steph just was looked a little bit too strong, maybe, seeing as she's not even a real wrestler.
yeah. It seems to me like a reaction to the fact that Shane obviously does a lot of jujitsu anyway, and I think it maybe she's obviously wants to look a bit
Yeah,
more athletic. And I mean, don't I mean she's clearly fucking keeps fit. I mean, Jesus Christ. You know, her and Triple H like do training every day.
yeah,
Like I was watching like a short thing about them, and they do it at like night when the kids are asleep. Like they're absolute maniacs. But yeah, that'd probably be a minor criticism for me. Like they kind of made out like because what worried me when the build up to this match, they were saying she's a trailblazer, and you know it was like she's not at all. Like
yeah.
she's never been a wrestler. She's always been.
She's a great character and she's a great promo, and she's like some of her promos are brilliant, but
Mm,
she's not really had that many matches in ring, and you don't think of her as being a like physical dominating character like Shane. Like you say, you think of him having like crazy matches and not being a polished wrestler, but he'll throw himself around. But you don't really have that opinion of Steph. You just think of her as a good heel character, don't you?
yeah, I think this was probably for me personally. This was probably the first match I actually considered her to hold her own a bit more. Like she did, it didn't feel like they completely like she wasn't completely carried to the point of she was just ineffective in any way. Like I felt
Mm.
like there was bits of where there was opportunistic things which weren't too weak that she did.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it was, but that's because this was just clearly a fluke of a match because she was the first. Normally, she is kind of the tool, the manager role, or you know, like she
yeah.
fucks around with the result, or like the antagonist kind of thing, which she
Mm.
is great at. Um, but yeah, I was stunned. I expected utter garbage from this match. I hated the build up
Yeah.
for it. I didn't care about the build up. I hated how Ronda was doing terrible things like the point of the WrestleMania sign and how she kind of overshadowed the Royal Rumble a bit when, you know, there was the first result. And then she came in and kind of just fucking shat on it and just what she's been saying. And then her attitude on interviews and, you know, not talking about her loss. But then apparently after WrestleMania, I've seen that she's done interviews and she's talking about the loss at UFC now.
Oh, right.
Which is kind of interesting. I don't know, you know, maybe that was kind of more of a work that they didn't want her to discuss the weakness. I don't know.
I was thinking about as well, coming in with so heavily using the Rowdy Roddy Piper sort of thing, because her ring gear, she was in shorts and a Rowdy Roddy Piper inspired top, and she had on her entrance she had the Rowdy Roddy Piper kilt and the Rowdy Roddy Piper leather jacket, and I think maybe that was a bit of a tactic for them, so the crowd almost couldn't boo her. Not so much in this match, but when she originally came out, it was kind of like, oh, right, she's paying homage to Rowdy Roddy Piper, so it's like you can't really boo that. Kind of just a little way to get her over.
That's a really good point. I never even considered that. Yeah, that I completely could see that using that as kind of a crutch to not to get a positive result. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
Another thing in the match that I was really impressed by was where she did a roll through and then picked up Triple H off the mat for a Samoan drop. You know, like Cena does before as well. So showing her strength as well. That looked really impressive.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was a particularly good spot because she didn't look like competent with it or that it was easy either, which I thought was good as well because that could have made it look more fake. Like I feel like it genuinely was just like she was pushing herself, and you know, fucking hell, she's lifting Triple H. I mean, whatever the hell Triple H weighs, you know, over 200 pounds or whatever it is. Like it was impressive. Like, and it made her more like. It was cool because it kept her human, but then it showed that she is an anomaly. She is special, kind of thing. And
there's also another nice bit where Triple H goes for the pedigree and gets her up, and then she turns it into a Hurricane Rana into the armbar. That was a really nice sequence. There was like little things they obviously put in some really good spots, and she did them really well in her aggression, and I think she looked really, really strong.
And I also think that bloody Kurt Angle looked really good as well. I was worried about Kurt Angle because
with his little cripple glove thing that he.
I really wasn't,
because when you see him walk, he looks like his body's knackered. But then in this match, he just had his game face on. You didn't even think about it, did you? He just looked like maybe not the old Kurt Angle, but he looked really good as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I was really impressed. I was really fearful of ring rust, and it didn't feel that way at all. Like he held his own. He wasn't like late to things, and I really enjoyed the double kind of submission situation. I thought that was really cool. The way Triple H and Stephanie were holding hands at one point, could kind of support each other. There's just like loads of really cool spots in the match. Like it was a wrestling match. Don't get me wrong, you know, but it was really. It kind of reminded me of old school wrestling where there was jeopardy and you know there was theater to it and you know I really wasn't expecting to enjoy this match at all, and I actually think it was one of my favorite matches.
Yeah,
which is a real like testament to them. I mean, not that it impressed me. I don't mean that, but for me personally, like I didn't give a fuck about this match when I went in. I was kind of more intrigued to kind of watch it burn, really, which is cynical, but that's kind of how I felt about it, and I was completely proved wrong, which is great.
Yeah. No, all in all, it was a really, really good match, and I'm quite pleased that they, you know, did something good with Ronda, and she looked impressive.
Yeah,
So the next
very
match
good.
was triple threat tag team match for the
Triple threat, triple threat.
triple the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That was the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Usos versus New Day.
Yeah.
And this is where on the New Day's entrance they had a load of midgets dressed as pancakes
I know.
coming down to the ring, which I just made me feel really uncomfortable. Like it was back to the 90s, like dressing up midgets and laughing at them. It was kind of like if you're a little person watching this, you just think, oh right, so I'm just the butt of the joke. Then it's kind of really weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that they kind of in the previous match they'd revisited kind of a it felt like an old match, like, with that kind of element. And then it kind of it's almost like it continued on with this horrendous parade of like the little people, what I don't know the politically correct term. You know, midget, whatever it is. But I'm coming from it and from a place of I just didn't understand it. It was just lame. The 3D graphics looked horrendous. Like that was one thing that was really weird. They just didn't need to do that. It seemed like a pointless thing that they just like a technology.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gimmick, wasn't it?
But all the images, all the graphics were like they almost looked like 8-bit, like really like boxy and just shit. It was just terrible. And then I saw Big E was acting and looking at them, like pretending that they were there, and but it just looked shit. And then also I saw people complain, they're like, why the fuck didn't the Usos come out first? They're champions.
Yeah.
Which is a fair point. Which they just seem to fuck off all the time now. They just seem to do whatever they want to do when it comes to.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be that structure of the champion comes out last. This match only went 5 minutes 50, so it was a bit of a. Because I was expecting this to be like the new sort of Hardys versus Dudleys versus Edge and Christian, and maybe it'd be like a few table spots or ladder spots or something. But it was a bit of a disappointment, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the one weird thing, because it was just a burial. Like they really just buried everyone. Like they're clearly too strong compared to everyone else. And what makes more sense in context is that on Raw the next night, Dingy turned up, didn't he? Those ones that I like in NXT with the masks.
The Ascension, no, not the.
Is it Thingies of Pain or something? Or
yeah, Authors of Pain. Yeah,
they turned up, so I kind of understand why they won, because they probably want them to feud now, which makes sense. But yeah, I kind of expected maybe some inventive shit with, especially with Kofi, because every match, every WrestleMania he's been in, whether it's a shitty, it was the ladder matches. I mean, he was fantastic in them. In fact, that's one thing we didn't have this year, a ladder match. That was a shame.
No, didn't have any ladders or tables or anything hardcore or no DQ, really, did we?
Yeah, because those ladder matches, they usually been like the is it been Money in the Bank?
Well, I think, was it last year or for a few years, it's been like the Intercontinental Championship has been a ladder match or like a multi-man ladder match. For the last couple of years, there's usually been one, hasn't there? I think maybe that was missing a little bit just to add a bit of variety.
Yeah, I think that was probably really missing, to be honest. I probably would have liked to have seen that, because this just did nothing for me. I don't like the Usos anyway. They bore me to tears. There's just nothing about them in terms of characters or what their actual moveset is. So for me personally, I think they're very similar to Roman Reigns in the fact that they're just it's just like wrestling for dummies. Like that's just what it feels like. It's like, okay, you do this now. Punch, punch, kick, kick. Okay. I just don't find them entertaining. And now that they've lost all the other colourful stuff again, that just makes them even more boring.
Yeah.
Because now they're like a heel character, aren't they? The Usos. I mean, I don't know.
I think they were heel, but I think now they're baby faces now after their series with the New Day.
Okay.
But
So I mean,
yeah,
we're the fans, so I've got no fucking idea who's doing what.
but yeah, this match wasn't really anything, was it? It was just the Bludgeon Brothers looked strong and they won.
It clearly was just a break for the crowd before the next match.
Yeah, so the next match was, well, the referee runs down.
Oh yeah, so when it's Oscar and Charlotte win.
Yeah,
so when that match ended,
the referee ran down and said something to John Cena, which you could clearly hear him say, "The Undertaker's here."
Yeah, he's like, he's here.
So then he runs in the back and obviously gets his gear on, and then comes down to the ring after this tag team match, and basically waits for the Undertaker to come out, and then we get Elias coming out instead, which is a cool bit because it's kind of like, oh, did you think it was going to be somebody else? But I kind of just felt a little bit confused because I was like, well, is this an actual match, or is this, are they just trolling the fans, or I found it a little bit confusing. But then it was quite cool when, Cena obviously just kicks Elias's ass and then is about to walk out and kind of looks sad, like, oh, well, that was it then, Undertaker's not here. And he walks up the ramp and then the lights go out and Taker's music comes on. Well, no,
actually,
there was
the stuff in the ring, wasn't there, first?
Yeah. So his hat and his coat appeared in the ring again, didn't they? And then the lightning comes down and strikes them, and then they disappear, which is quite a cool bit. Yeah. So it's kind of like, so from him taking off his hat and coat and laying it in the ring at the end of last WrestleMania to kind of signify that he was done and he was retired or whatever, and then to kind of like use that again and kind of like symbolize him being resurrected, it's kind of in keeping with his supernatural character, I suppose. And then he comes down and they have a really quick match, and then Taker looked in the best shape he's looked in the last 4 years, maybe. So his hip operation's obviously done him well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I mean, whether it is because he knew it was a 2-minute match, I mean, I don't know. And
yeah, so it was 2 minutes 45. So it was a really quick squash match for Cena.
And hats off to Cena for fucking just taking to having a squash match, because I think I'm the number one perpetrator of fucking not liking Cena in terms of a wrestling point of view. I think he's a really nice guy from what I can tell, but he doesn't. We've kind of talked about it before. It personally, not obviously on here, but where he doesn't really sell. He can be quite wooden when it comes to matches. He doesn't really seem to.
A lot now in the last few years, like really loudly.
Yeah,
so you can just hear him, like in his match with AJ at Royal Rumble, was it? I'm not sure when it was, but he was just really loudly spot calling in that, and it kind of just takes you out of it a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's not cool. I mean, it was great. The absolute motherfuckers WWE, because like last year was like horrendous, like, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like, I was in tears with the whole when he put his stuff in the ring, and because it felt the end, and it felt like a fitting end as well. Well, okay. the way he did that felt like a fitting end. The match didn't feel like an end because the
No.
match was awful. I don't think it helped with Roman Reigns, but then I don't think the Undertaker helped.
I just don't think he was in any condition to have a decent match, was he? I think he was just, obviously his hip problems were restricting him, and he just looked like a old man, really, didn't he? And it was a bit sad. So I understand why he wouldn't want that to be the last sort of memory of him. But I don't really understand where they're going with him now, because it's like,
have you seen that he's just been booked for Saudi Arabia?
yeah. So he's facing, who is it, Rusev?
Rusev, yeah, which
is bizarre.
I don't
know what if they're building, because I heard some people saying that, oh, you know, the Undertaker's back now, and he'll be doing these like short WrestleMania matches for the next 4 or 5 years. I think I don't really want to see that.
No, like and
like you say, want him to have that Ric Flair sort of retirement where he just has the perfect, beautiful ending and rides off into the sunset.
Yeah. Like, to me, tonight would have been could be a good way to go, even though he doesn't. Because we've had the ceremonial retirement, which wasn't a retirement, but you know, like he first of all he puts his stuff down in the ring, then he breaks character, goes to his wife and his family and friends, and you know he's visibly upset, like his eyes were massive. That's what really stood out to me. He looked like it just didn't look like the Undertaker anymore. He just looked like mortal and an old man, and his eyes were massive because he was obviously just full of like emotion and upset. Because it was just a really sad moment, and then he's had that, and then now he's obviously had, in my opinion, a good match. It was brought back well. The like you say, the lightning in the ring was perfect. It had the drama and, like you say, the supernatural element to the Undertaker. Like that was perfect to me. That was like, no, you know, oh, he's not done. It felt it kind of had the magic of wrestling again. And then to have him come out and do what he did. Like this is going to sound so weird and so deep and probably over analytical, but for me, like when the Undertaker was like, when he did the thing with the jacket and stuff, for me it was like you're reminded that we die. Like it was like the mortality thing, like because I just associate like the Undertaker and stuff with like being a child and being young and like, you know, you're not thinking about death. And then, you know, like when he did that, it was like, oh yeah. It kind of reminded you about life, do you know what I mean? It was kind of really depressing. And then so for me, like even if he just did this match and then disappeared, I think this is a perfect way to go out because he never formally retired, but he's the Undertaker. He's supernatural. Do you remember when he came back and destroyed Cena in 3 minutes? And I think, you know, there's that like legend could go on.
Yeah.
But now we're going to see him at fucking Saudi Arabia against Rusev. And I mean, God knows, is he going to bury Rusev in 3 minutes? I mean, I hope so, because I can't really see him going past 3 minutes.
No, it'd have to be a short match, wouldn't it?
But so I don't know. Again, I think they handled that really well. The Elias bit at the time was horrible because I was riddled with anxiety. Like, what are they doing? Are they going to fuck us over? Are they going to troll the audience? And obviously, once we got the payoff, then in hindsight, it was great. But at the time, it was misery because I honestly didn't think he was going to turn up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. You know, he was did Snake Eyes, did what's the one on the top rope? The
Old school,
that's it. Yeah, he did that. He's not done that for 2-3 years.
No.
So that was really cool seeing him do that. You know, the tombstone was vicious. He just looked good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good moment. It was good to see the Undertaker with a positive positive situation, but yes.
And the next match was Daniel Bryan coming back with Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Yep.
Bryan and Shane win in 15 minutes 25. I thought this was a good match. It felt a bit strange because obviously you're still thinking about Daniel Bryan and kind of like wincing a little bit every move that he does. And to start off with him sort of being attacked and then like pretending to be led out on a stretcher or whatever. And then also knowing that Shane was actually injured as well. And then just playing on that as well. It was a little bit weird, but it was good to see Daniel Bryan back. And I was really excited for this match just to see Daniel Bryan again. I don't think he had any ring rust, or he looked like he was just his old self, really, didn't he? He looked really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, like, yes. You see, for me, this match, like, I didn't really get much from it at all in terms of like enjoyment. I agree with you. Like, I felt like the first section was in poor taste, considering what has happened with him, and the fact that it wasn't like a knee injury. It was a neurological issue, which, based on what's happened with WWE in the past, and you look at fucking Benoit, do you know what I mean? Like, he, if it's true that he had the brain of a bloody, the borderline, like, early onset dementia and shit like that. Again, if that might not be true, but if that is due to concussions and that kind of thing, it just felt a little bit like, it just felt uncomfortable. Like, I'm all for like crossing over and sometimes like bringing real life into the wrestling kind of thing, because I think that's kind of where it can sometimes get a bit interesting.
Yeah.
But this just felt a bit like, look, he's got to WrestleMania and now you're gonna. It just made everyone kind of worry, and then reminded, I think, everyone that, oh yeah, he couldn't wrestle because of this injury.
Yeah.
And then I was also disappointed because I thought Shane McMahon was going to do a heel turn.
Yeah. Yeah, we were saying that when we were predicting it, but
I just felt like that would have gave it a bit of something. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't really have anything in it. I mean, I suppose it was a shock that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lost, because then, I mean, I think I read that they had a match on Raw against each other and whoever won got a contract.
Yeah, and I think they went to a double DQ or something.
Oh, really?
Count out, so like neither of them got a contract. So I think that's going to be the whole story, isn't it? Until the superstar shake up. Is it next week or the week after that?
But then I've seen today that Paige has been announced as new new SmackDown live general manager.
Yeah. So I think Daniel Bryan's just going back to being a full-time competitor, which is, I suppose, is good.
Yeah. I don't know. There was one thing that I think I said it to you when we were watching the match. Like, I was saying that it's no surprise that Daniel Bryan is getting concussions, because he looks like he puts his body on the line with every move that he does. Like, it just seems like
he just throws himself into it, doesn't he? Like the kicks in the corner when he flips over and.
Yeah, because he like takes
ropes.
the back,
I noticed
doesn't
that
he?
he didn't. I noticed that he didn't dive through the ropes in this. He did a baseball slide instead. So I don't know whether he's going to start doing that instead of diving through the ropes. So he takes a little bit of a risk out of it. But
yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, just this match for me just was a bit of a dud. I think it was difficult for them after the Undertaker, because the fact that it was such a good, such a positive match, and everyone was quite pleasantly surprised and like, oh, thank God for that. We've actually had a decent match. with The Undertaker, and then it was this. I don't know. I mean, one thing I will say, Kevin Owens shit talking is just amazing as always. He is just amazing.
Yeah.
He's such a good heel. Like he is. He's such a bastard. I love him. I think he's fantastic. Sami Zayn feels a bit like over the top at the moment. Like he feels a bit like he's being a bit of a goofy bastard. I don't know. He's a bit too much for me at the moment. Whereas Kevin Owens has just got this natural kind of like troll kind of like attitude. He's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it's interesting to see what they'll do with them too. If they got like a double DQ or whatever. I think that's probably kind of an interesting storyline because they can carry it themselves. They're very naturally good to watch. So yeah, but ultimately I actually wasn't that bothered about this match. I didn't really think it was particularly good.
No, I think maybe I was just more pleased to see Daniel Bryan back rather than it being a good match.
Yeah, I'm kind of pleased for him though, but I still feel a bit like a part of me feels like, is this irresponsible? He's got a kid now.
Yeah.
Like you were told that to not wrestle. Like Edge's was different because it was a spine, a neck, and it's different. But I don't know. I don't know. It feels like it's maybe a selfish thing to do when he's got a kid now, and I don't know whether this is a foolish decision to do. That's just my kind of feeling about it. I don't know.
It's going to take a bit of time for everyone to feel completely fine about watching his matches and not be thinking, "Oh, don't land on your head," sort of thing, and watching out for it all the time.
Because a part of me thinks, will he hide when he gets concussions now?
Yeah.
Which could be a really dangerous road to go down because then, he might keep it from his family, he might keep it from people. I mean, again, this is all speculation and, who knows? But, I don't know. It just feels like it feels desperate to me because he's obviously, this is his passion. And he couldn't let it go, and he was continuing to get all these tests from multiple places. And I want him to wrestle. That he's amazing, but it just, I don't know. I think maybe in 2 years' time when he's kind of, if he's not had concussions, maybe I'll feel a bit better about it. It's just we just have to see. I don't know. Yes. So the next match. It was Nia Jax against Alexa Bliss, and this was for the WWE Raw Women's Championship.
I thought this was a fun match. I like Alexa Bliss. I think on the mic she's been. Oh, I said Alexa Bliss, and my Alexa's gone off.
You've got an Alexa.
Yeah, it was a present. I don't use it.
Someone's gonna see this video now. Shit. No.
So this was I thought it was a good match. I quite like. Yeah, I like Alexa Bliss, and I thought Mickie James is a good, partner for Alexa Bliss, and adds a bit of something to her presentation. And then Nia Jax looked good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match. I think the storyline was very good. I mean, apart from the whole, I was saying to you during the match and the build-up was, it's a bit weird that Mickie James is on board with Alexa Bliss, considering there's a whole Piggy James angle and all that stuff. And so for me, it's weird her being with her when there's the whole fat shaming kind of like, fat call, name calling kind of thing. And so that seems like a real illogical thing for her to stand by. Like, it would have been interesting if Mickie James distanced herself from her when this was happening. Because I don't feel like people have, I mean, maybe people have forgotten about that whole Piggy James thing, but it was I mean, it was a horrible storyline. It was really awkward. But no, I thought it was good. I think Alexa Bliss is really really kind of good as a heel. She's kind of like that bitchy kind of character. You know, it really works. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't really remember too much from the match. Yeah, I don't actually remember much from it, but I remember enjoying the match, which is probably just a good thing.
Yeah. And then I think the next match, AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. It went 20 minutes 20, but I think by this point the crowd were just exhausted, weren't they? And this match was kind of the most disappointing of the night. I think we both agree on that.
Yeah,
because everyone was predicting it was going to be, you know, it was going to steal the show and be the best match on the card. And it was probably a good match, but it just felt like there wasn't anything special that happened in it. And it was kind of saved a little bit at the end by. So AJ Styles won, but then Shinsuke turns heel on him. I suppose thinking about it now, it kind of makes sense because this will now be the first of a series of matches rather than just a one-off spectacular. So maybe they didn't want to go all out on the first one, but then it's WrestleMania. So, and there was such high expectations for it that they needed to put in some interesting spots or just do something because it was just a pretty standard match, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you've just said. Like, it was a real letdown, this match. I mean, it was clearly a very competent match. Like, I think it was executed expertly. Like, they clearly are both incredible, but for me, it just didn't get going. It was very like methodical, and it didn't. You didn't really. For me, I didn't really feel like one of them either really wanted to win. It just felt like they were kind of. I don't know. It just seemed devoid of emotion, really. And then, I mean, maybe that's what makes the heel turn at the end. So maybe that's what it needed. Yeah. Maybe this is what it needs now. It's got a bit of anger, but
so Shinsuke kneels down and presents the title to AJ, but then gives him a low blow, and then it's quite good because his kicks afterwards, while AJ was down, were really vicious. He was basically just kicking him in the face, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see Shinsuke as a heel because since NXT, I feel like he's not really like fully reached the heights that he could be reaching. They've kind of not really fully pushed him. I know he won the Royal Rumble, but he's kind of not really got into his like fifth gear sort of thing. I feel like it might be good for his character, and I would be interested to see further matches from these two.
I think it definitely suits with the strong style type thing. If he's going to be heel and maybe like underhanded and kind of, you know, not cheating in a way. Like I mean, I suppose they need to be careful with that because it kind of can diminish him in a way if he cheats. But then because he doesn't need to cheat, he's high level. But I mean, it could make, like you say, where, you know, when he was kicking him at the end, once he turned, it felt different.
It was a bit more vicious, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think again, I agree with you. And I think like there was like the ascension through NXT, and then obviously I remember that NXT match with him and Sami Zayn, which was one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was just so good. It was perfect. There was emotion. It went on a long time, but it didn't feel Like obviously everyone was shouting "fight forever" because it was just one of those great matches. They were like punching each other. They were like exchanging, like, and they were exhausted. They could hardly walk, and they were like just like,
Well,
just flailing arms,
that
and
was
it
his
was great.
first match in NXT as well, though, wasn't it? I feel
Was
like
it?
he's never really gotten any better than that first match.
Yeah, because he kind of it just feels like he stalled once he came to WWE. I don't know. I kind of just my weird thing was I was drinking the Kool-Aid with him completely. I was like, when he was in NXT, I was like, you know what? I get it. I completely get it. Whoa, how have I not seen this guy? And then he came to WWE and I was like, oh, I'm a bit sick of this character now. Like, I don't really get it. I was watching some of his matches and I was like, yeah, it's all right. But none of the matches really struck me like that Sami Zayn match. And then there was this match and I was like, oh, is this guy a bit overhyped? Does this not convey too well with the US, this kind of style? Because he doesn't really speak very much English. And his character is very wacky. Like, it's quite weird. Like, it's like a Michael Jackson cross with like theatrical kind of thing. It is fucking bizarre. But I think it'd be interesting to see him be a real bastard now for like a year. And like you say, this definitely sets them up to have multiple matches, and maybe we might get more out of this now with a bit of venom and a bit of hatred, and because AJ's a good heel as well, and he, once if he's got a bit of passion, he can really execute it well. So it was just a shame it was a letdown, and looking at that it was 20 minutes. That kind of doesn't surprise me in a way because it felt 20 minutes. It felt long.
Yeah.
But then when it was weird, it felt long. But then when the finish came, it felt very abrupt.
Yeah.
There was no near falls, was there? Or I don't remember.
It didn't feel abrupt, but it never really got to that. Like you say, the pace never really got to that level where it like built and built. It kind of just never really got going, did it? I don't know whether that was the crowd never really went along with it. But it just seemed to finish without it really getting to that next level.
And the crowd were up for it because when the match started, the crowd was fucking going mad. Like, they were definitely up for it, but it just one of those matches. It just didn't pan out, and the build obviously was so high that maybe expectation was just too high for it, and everyone just expected this absolute dream match, which just obviously never came to fruition. I don't know, but so it was a bit of a shame, really. Because that was, to be fair, that was the main match I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit of a letdown. And then we moved on to the tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. And so
Braun Strowman, Cesaro and Sheamus come out first
with a really long and fucking drawn out intro.
Yeah, I feel like their whole intro and their characters are a little bit contrived. It's a little bit forced, isn't it? Like, they've got the jackets, and then they've got all the moves and all this stuff that they do, and the bar, and it's all a little bit overthought, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Sheamus anyway. Cesaro, I really like. Well, I preferred him in his old kind of character where it was, like that kind of elite, kind of clean athlete kind of. And I just think with this character, it's just buried. I just don't care. I don't think anyone cares. Well, no, I can't say that because clearly they are over because I think the kids like them. I think more than adults, but and it went on. The intro went on, then Braun turned up, and then that went on.
Yeah, and it was a little bit strange as well because the whole premise of this match was, oh, who's going to be Braun's partner? So Braun comes down and he says, my partner is going to be, and he says, one of you. And then he starts walking around the crowd and picks out this little kid called Nicholas.
Yeah.
And then Nicholas just looks like, stands on the apron and just looks really uncomfortable, doesn't he? He just looks scared shitless.
His legs were shaking, like he'd locked
Yeah.
up because he was so petrified. You could see like his legs weren't moving properly because he was so fucking scared. It was, I think it was one of them situations where, in principle, I think it's a very nice idea. I think it's a very sweet idea, and I think it's made that kid's dream come true, and I think it's great. But in terms of watcher viewers, it was horribly uncomfortable. It was drawn out. There was it took ages to even get to that where he says it's one of you, and then it took ages for him to find someone. Whereas everyone starts getting disappointed because everyone was thinking, is The Rock going to turn up? Is it going to be Samoa Joe?
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I was getting excited, thinking, oh, there'll be a surprise, and maybe Samoa Joe will come back, or maybe it'll be Elias, or maybe it'll be, I don't know, Dean Ambrose might come back from his injury or something.
Yeah.
But then it was just like, oh yeah, it's just some random kid from the crowd. That was a bit weird, and there's kind of like no payoff for it as well, because now, have you seen on Raw? He was just like, oh, we're forfeiting the titles because Nicholas has got other engagements in the fourth grade. So it's like, and now now there's just going to be a tag team tournament to crown a new champion. So it's kind of like it was all a bit weird. I mean, it was cool that they're trying something different, but yeah, it just came across a bit weird for me.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think that the gesture was really nice, and I think it was kind of in many ways it was a cool WrestleMania moment, but in execution, it was fucking tedious, and it should have been snappier. Like, you should have picked someone from the front row, or maybe picked a Make-A-Wish kid. I don't know. For me, it was like, oh my god, did he have to go the long way around? And then once he'd picked Nicholas, he took a really fucking long route to come back, and then it was just like fucking hell. And
so, apparently, I heard that that's the kid of like a long-term WWE employee. Apparently, so it was
well,
like,
that fucking sucks ass if it is.
yeah. So it's kind of like just someone in the office's kid or something. It's kind of I kind of thought it was either like someone who'd won a competition or something, or but yeah.
Well, I thought it was Make-A-Wish at first because the kid looks sickly, and you couldn't. The kid, he does, or well, we thought it was a girl at first.
Yeah,
we couldn't even tell. We were getting like, we were like fucking douche chilling because we thought he was calling her a boy, and we thought it was a girl, and we were like, oh my god, this is the worst. But then obviously it turned out it was a boy who wasn't terminally ill. And then you're like, what the fuck? Like, it was weird. Like, I don't know. I think it would have been cooler if it was a Make-A-Wish kid, because then that's a bit more special, and I think you would have had a bit more patience for it, and that kind of takes a real shine off it for me. If it's an employee, that's a kid that's going to get access to WWE. That's not really a fucking special thing. It's not like just any old kid from the audience. If that is true, then that changes my opinion of it, and then I'll be like, fuck that. I'm not interested in it. If that's the case, that really does change it for me.
That's only what I've heard. I don't know whether that's true or not, but
I mean, I don't know if it is, but if it is, then I'm going to give it a complete thumbs down if it is, because I think you could have gave the opportunity to someone else, or they could have got a superstar. But if it is just a random kid, then great. I think that's kind of acceptable.
Yeah. So the match was pretty quick. It was 4 minutes, and it was a bit of a shame that Sheamus and Cesaro just were made to look really weak, because Nicholas basically just stood on the outside. and Braun beat them 2-on-1, basically.
Yeah, which is believable, but then,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I thought they were probably. It would have been good if they could have figured out a way to have Nicholas pin one of them. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that would have been, because then they can't, like, there's no risk of like it looking absolute shit if
Yeah.
if he tries to, I mean, if the kid did decide he was kind of up for it and kind of tagged in, and then Cesaro scared the shit out of him
Yeah.
because he screamed at him, and then he quickly tagged him in. But you know, if the kid was definitely up for it, then maybe they would have jumped out frightened. Do you know what I mean? Or but I was expecting Braun Strowman to like go and you pin them, because then it would have made it a bit
Yeah.
more special. But oh well.
Because we were saying, oh, is this going to be like he's like a plant, this little kid, and he's actually like awesome, and he's going to do like a little Hurricane Rana or something and do a few moves and jump off the top rope, but he just stood there looking scared to death, didn't he, really?
Well, for me, there was it didn't look like a plant until the weird tag in, because that to me felt like a plant, because he tagged in, and then the way he reacted when Cesaro screamed at him and he tagged out again,
Yeah.
that seemed like a weird move for a kid to do. Like, I think the kid would have crumbled in that situation. Considering how frail he was and like fucking scared shitless and rigid because he couldn't fucking move because he was so scared. It felt like quite a calm move. Like, nah, you come in. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It was that to me felt a bit of a straight. Like that seemed weird, just socially weird compared to how he'd been. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe when he was walking to the ring, he said, "Look, when I'm going to tag you in, but then can you just tag me straight again?" Who knows?
No, I think he was just a plant, and they'd run through it. Said, just stand on the outside. I'll tag you in.
Yeah.
And then look scared and tag me back in again. And that's all you have to do.
Yeah, but probably more than likely, and it'll take the magic off it if it's a plant and he's a bit more in on it. I think that kind of ruins it. It doesn't feel like a special moment to me then. But who knows?
And then are we on to the final match of the night?
Yeah, so 15 minutes.
Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar versus your boy Roman Reigns.
My boy.
Yeah, 15 minutes, 55. The crowd were just not into this at all, were they? And apparently I've heard that because you could see the crowd were really distracted and they were cheering for random things. Apparently that was like loads of beach balls were going around the crowd.
Yeah, because when we watched it, we were like, "What is going on? Is the fight in the crowd?" I mean, we were like wondering what the hell was going on, because there was people not even watching the match. They were like looking up around, weren't they, at different points, different areas of the stadium, and we were thinking like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I want to know what's going on. I thought it was maybe someone doing a run-in at first, because that's the kind of reaction they get, don't they, when someone runs from the crowd, but. Yeah, I read afterwards. Yeah, it was beach balls were going everywhere, and they were like trying to do Mexican waves, and
they were,
it was just like, a fucking shit show, wasn't it?
This is awful as well. It wasn't even
boring.
It wasn't even like they were chanting against Roman Reigns. They were just like weren't interested, were they? And I can kind of understand, because it was like for the last however many years, 2 or 3 years, or probably maybe even longer, like Brock Lesnar's had when he first came back and after he defeated Taker and he went on that run of just being unbelievable, and the whole Suplex City, and just being really an authentic, like nasty, like unbeatable character, and you kind of like were really excited for his matches because he felt really real. But now he's done so many of them, and it's just the same thing over and over again. I'm kind of just over it now. It's the same formula of a load of suplexes in the ring, Then you go outside the ring. Braun gets thrown into the ring post. They do a little bit of something to do with the tables. Then they go back inside, and then Braun beats him up more and wins. And even with Braun opening up Roman hard way at the end, that was kind of exactly the same as he'd done with Randy Orton. So if it was for the first time, it would have been a massive moment, and it would have been like, oh my god, look how much Roman's bleeding, and he's, oh my god, he's opened up hard way. Was he supposed to do that or was he not? But because he'd already done it with Randy Orton before, and it was pretty much exactly the same, there wasn't really anything different about it. And yeah, there was. I just was a bit bored of the match, to be honest.
I think the match though itself is fundamentally flawed from the get-go, because I just don't think anyone gave a shit either, because everyone just expected Roman to win, and so it didn't really matter the content of the match, because I personally think there was some interesting things. I still don't mind Brock Lesnar, but I completely understand your point. I think you're right, and I think a lot of people feel that way. I still kind of, I think because he's legit in terms of his, like, that he can kick the shit out of people, and he is kind of, he's a terror. He's a fucking genetic freak. Like, he's an absolute, like, alpha male. And I just, because it was obvious that Roman was going to win. That was kind of, it was just, he's lost it like 2 years on the run or something. And, he obviously won last year, but, that was the break year before he wins it this year. So that was kind of like, it was just going to happen. Roman's not going to lose again. They trolled the audience. I mean, I did say to you that, like, I think that's all just bullshit. Like, it looked bullshit to me. The fact that he was wearing a UFC t-shirt and things when he was in photos with Dana White, like, for me, it was too perfect.
And it was just a way to try and get Roman over and get people against Brock.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think with another opponent, then maybe it wouldn't have felt this way. But I think the problem is, and again, we had this weird thing at the end of that event where we just felt so sorry for Roman Reigns, and I've never pitied Roman Reigns. I never have. I've always thought, you know what, you've been given a shit situation, but you don't do yourself any favors. And I don't, and maybe you could say the ring, the craft of this match was fucking terrible. I mean, like, someone said it was like a computer game where it's like F5, 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 and he kicks out of all of them. And then, he gets cut open, and then that seemed to be his only real offense, was when he did those two spears, and then or the punch. I can't really remember what he did, but then I thought, oh god, and then Brock fucking F5'd him when he was bleeding, and then that was it. So it was like, was it 6 F5s or something? And
and one through the table as well.
Oh yeah. And it just, because everyone thought the Roman was going to win, no one gave a shit. Like, I didn't.
Every single time he kicked out of the F5, there wasn't like a reaction from the crowd or anything. It was
just like, of course he did.
He's kicked out again, has he?
Like,
we were kind of expecting him to be this superhuman person who just takes all the beating and then has a little rally at the end and almost hulks up and just beats him. And I suppose it was good that they didn't do the thing of, Roman just being super strong, but it was kind of like they expected him to get over by being the strong loser, almost like Austin versus Bret Hart, where he loses, but he kicked out of so many F5s that he gains the respect or whatever, and he was bleeding, and they respect him for that. But nobody did. They just didn't care.
It was such a weird ending because no one gave a toss. Like I think you're
And the bit
completely right.
after, the bit like almost after the credits, where it was just Roman walking out, that was the most depressing bit because it was kind of like
Yeah,
they'd put that bit in. We were saying this is like they're expecting the crowd to cheer him out, but
yeah.
everyone's leaving, everyone's left, no one's like
I
there
literally
was
saw one
loads of
guy
empty
clapping.
seats, and he was just walking out looking dejected and kind of looking around at the crowd, kind of like he'd been told, look round at the crowd, and this is where they'll all be giving you a standing ovation because you've finally won them over. And it was like, just didn't happen. He just looked pathetic and really sad, and that's like you say, where we just felt really sorry for him because he was like, he can't do anything right now. They've just fucked him. Like, where did he go from this? He can't beat Brock again. He's
Well, I
not. He's
saw that
not. He's
Samoa
not
Joe's come back now, hasn't he?
over
So,
as a face. He's not over as a heel. And I think before, when he was getting those cheers and boos, sort of mixed reaction, it was kind of like it doesn't matter whether people cheer him or boo him because he's getting a reaction. But it was a bit worrying that in this, everyone was just really like didn't care at all.
no, I've never seen it so bad in terms of indifference. Like there was booze when he turned up, and there was just everyone was putting thumbs down, and then when he lost, there was people just doing thumbs down continuous in the crowd because it was shit. And someone actually said, and I agree with them. When Brock won, it was like when the Undertaker lost, not to that extent, but there was that thing of what. There
Yeah,
was disbelief, and which just shows how, if anything, just reflects badly on WWE, like how biased they are with him, and
mm,
how they've realized, oh yeah, he is the chosen one, and we're just gonna do everything to push Roman, and I just think unless he turns heel and embraces the fact that he was Vince's number one, but that's kind of fucked now because he brought up like they had that. They ruined the Roman Reigns was actually getting a tiny bit of credibility
mm,
with fans because a lot of fans don't like the fact that Brock Lesnar's part time. A
mm.
lot of kind of smart marks or whatever, like smart fans. People they were like, this is a good angle to take, and then he ruined it by saying he's Vince's boy, just killed
Yeah,
it dead. And everyone's like, are you fucking serious? You're gonna make Roman Reigns say that?
yeah,
Like,
because Roman is clearly Vince's boy, not Lesnar.
no, yeah, it's just horrendous. I did, and again, we felt so bad for Roman Reigns. Like, I felt
Mm.
terrible for him because it was just
It was embarrassing as well, really,
embarrassing.
wasn't it?
And the end was, oh my god, it took so long because he walked out. They'd obviously told him to walk out slow, really soak up
Yeah,
the applause and soak up, the adulation that you're gonna get, like you said. And literally one fella was like clapping him, looking at him, and everyone else, it was emptying out. No one
yeah,
gave a flying fuck. It was the most tragic and forced thing where it just showed how out of touch WWE are with him.
mm,
They expected him to get clapped out of the building because he bled the hard way, and it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. The match didn't feel like full of anger at all, apart from, well, it did from Brock because Brock is just a scary individual, but it was just suplex city bitch.
mm.
Then it was like, it doesn't help when he's got a fucking the lamest fucking move and that Superman punch. I mean, it really is
Yeah,
embarrassing. It really is an embarrassing move.
yeah,
But that's just preference for me.
yeah.
And a spear's not really it's a good move, but some Edge retired only a few years ago, and that was his move.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have come up with a slam move for someone who's big rather than just a spear. I don't know. Like some kind of, I mean, I'm not saying a Samoan drop, but something that's a bit more like a slam, like a,
like
like Lesnar's got the F5 or, but no, we get a stupid Superman punch, which I always struggle with punches as finishers anyway.
Yeah.
Because the Big Show's knockout punch was just death for me. As soon as that got rolled out, I was like, oh, fuck wrestling. I can't, please stop.
But I think overall, WrestleMania was really enjoyable, wasn't it?
Well, I was just going to say one thing.
Bits.
Well, Brock, did you say about Brock having an argument with Vince?
Yeah, actually, I saw that.
Like he finally threw the championship at the wall or something. Speculation, of course.
Vince said, obviously did something that he wasn't supposed to do. I don't think it was the getting blood, but there must have been something else. Maybe Vince is just annoyed with how the match went and he's taking it out on Brock. But yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be intrigued. I'd love to find out what that was about because I read that it was Brock that was angry because of the reaction of the fans.
Yeah.
Which I suppose if it's out of your hands in a way, because Roman is the problem. That is the problem with the match. I think if it was someone else, people would have been more into it.
Yeah, I think there's just no going back from now, is there? It's just he's ruined. There's nothing. The fans are never going to embrace him, so they need to stop trying.
And the only way is to accept what it was. If he come out and was like, you know what, yeah, I was the one getting the push.
Yeah,
either turn heel or admit what's happened. If they play to that, it would be fine because then the fans would be like, all right. Or if he was, I think he'd have to be heel actually because then if he's getting heat if he wins. Although would he now? Because then you'd be like, he's still the chosen one, isn't he? Because he's. Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think he's fucked. I just don't see if I worry about him. I don't. I think it's gone too far now.
Yeah,
they've tried everything. He's not going to get over.
No.
He seems like a really nice guy in interviews and everything, but
yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, yeah, you obviously moved it on to your thoughts overall of WrestleMania itself.
Yeah, no, really enjoyed it. There's some really, really good moments. I thought Asuka and Charlotte was the match of the night. I thought Ronda Rousey looked a lot more impressive than I thought she should have done. And there were some really fun bits and just really enjoyable overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a good card. I think it was a stacked card. It went on a long time, but I didn't struggle with this one as much as I struggled with a few other years.
No.
I don't think the pre-show should be 2 hours. I think 2 hours is too much. There was a lot of shit.
I think maybe 5 hours for the main card is too much as well. Maybe it needs to be 4 hours.
Potentially, yeah.
But then they're trying to get everyone on the card, aren't they?
Like I didn't mind it, to be fair. I didn't. The only thing that was long for me was the Nicholas thing because it was executed in a long-winded fashion. So I don't think it was.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop because I really need a piss.
Will you go for a piss and I'll just I'll keep talking.
Okay.
So yeah, I think overall it was good. I think the 5 hours was actually sufficient. Interesting that Kid Rock didn't perform either, which was an interesting tidbit. Apparently he was on a cruise, or he was like he'd got like a gigs where you play on a cruise ship, so he had to go. And so that was kind of interesting with no real musical guest, because even NXT had like that band that were playing the theme, and I think they played another theme as well. But overall, yeah, I think it was a really good event. Intrigued to see next year where it's like New York / New Jersey, isn't it? At the giant stadium there. So I think it's outdoor again. I thought this year as well with the mic'd up ring. I think you felt the power of some of the slams as well. I think that was really cool. We had it through a sub, and so when there was slams, and then you got like the echo where just you heard it go into that giant arena in the atmosphere. Then I thought that was it really kind of sold it. And so yeah, overall I thought it was a really good event. Again, as a fair weather fan, it was good. It was a good event. Intrigued for next year. And after I've watched like what happened on Raw as well, I think it was a good follow on. Here he is. He's back again.
Back.
Yeah, so I was just kind of quickly summarizing, just saying I think it was a good event. I think the sound was good with the indoor arena, how it sounded when there was a slam. It kind of you got that secondary kind of boom within the arena as well, which kind of made it feel even more huge. Also, I was just saying about the next year with like the open arena again in New York / New Jersey. So I think it's good. And then also with Raw, what happened? I think it actually Raw follows on really well from WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It kind of supports the booking decisions that they had.
Yeah.
Like Bobby Lashley looks. I personally have no interest in seeing Bobby Lashley again. I think he was a bit of a damp squib for me when he was in last time. He's not really got the personality to really carry being a champion.
Yeah, I've not really seen much of him in TNA or wherever since he's been gone. But I'd be interested to see what he's like now. After a few years away, and he's also been in MMA and had quite a few matches in that as well, hasn't he? So.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's interesting. I definitely think it was a positive event. I really enjoyed it. I think it was good. So yeah. Well, we've just spent, I don't know how long we've been talking for, but we've spent ages talking about WrestleMania, so I don't even I suspect you've got to go to bed because we've got work in the morning. So what we'll probably do is we might have to reconvene next week to talk about NXT TakeOver, which would obviously be incredibly late compared to when it was out, but I didn't expect us to talk this long about WrestleMania, but I've really enjoyed the conversation about WrestleMania. We're going to do more of these. So if anyone's watching this and if anyone's actually bothered to watch this, or if anyone's bothered to even watch it to the end, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to try and do some more. We're going to just talk about general things, just general interests that we have. And so, again, it's early days. If people do comment, then great. If people don't, that's probably likely. But we'll speak to you soon.
Right.
I'll pop off.